there's something specific that we're focusing on. So for some people, it may be something in the health and fitness realm. Maybe you want to do certain exercises, or maybe you want to change your weight or change your muscle capacity, or eat healthy or something like that. And that becomes really the primary focus. But we have to make sure to take into consideration to be well-rounded, because if you're focusing only on one specific area of your life, you may find that some of the other areas will fall a little bit or falter a little bit. So I like to try and set goals in each of these areas of my life. Welcome to the Healthy Investor Podcast with Bob Mastriani, where you and I will learn from successful real estate investors, entrepreneurs, and other highly driven individuals about their journey and the healthy habits and routines that play an integral part of their growth. Welcome back to the Healthy Investor Podcast. I'm your host, Bob Mastriani. Happy New Year and welcome to the year 2023. Hope you had a healthy, happy, and safe New Year. This episode is going to be a little bit different in that I will not have a guest join me today on the Healthy Investor Podcast. And I want to talk about goal planning for 2023. So as we move into the new year, many people are setting resolutions and planning for goals throughout the year. So I want to really take some time and deep dive into what goal planning means, and then also talk about the categories of goal planning that I find to be helpful for myself, and hopefully you'll find them to be helpful for you, and do our best to make this the greatest year and the most improvement in your life and moving forward. So as we move on into the goal planning category, want to talk a little bit about really what it takes for goal planning. And I think there are really three key elements to goal planning that you need to consider as you make your decision of what you're deciding for the year. How do you want your life to look throughout the year? What do you want your life to look like in all facets and all aspects? And then when you look back on the year, how have you changed? How have you grown? I often like to look back on my previous year and see if I've grown any, if I've changed any, if there are some things that I'd like to improve upon. And, I take a bit of pride in saying that, I'm a different person than I was a year ago. I'm a different person than I was 5 years ago, 10, 15, 20 years. And a lot of that has to do with focused growth and focused effort on trying to grow individually, and to be a better person for myself and for my family and business and all of those things. So when we look at a new year, a lot of that comes down to actually planning out your goals. So, none of these things happen by accident. Any growth that you've made in your life, any goals that you've achieved, in most cases, it didn't happen by accident. It happened because you planned it out, you worked towards it. So the first key element, I think, is to actually visualize. So what do I want my life to look like in all of these categories that we're going to discuss? How do I want it to look at the end of the year, the end of 2023, moving into 2024, which would be a year from now? And then the second thing is that how do I want it to be throughout the year? So, when we get into what the key elements of your goals are, we're going to look at each facet of those, and then how will that look a year from now, and how will that look throughout the year? So the first thing you want to do is visualize what your goals are. The second thing is you're going to want to set a plan in place. So I think oftentimes when we look at goal planning, especially when it's at the beginning of the year, and this is around maybe a New Year's resolution or a goal for the year and planning, I think oftentimes we look at it as a 365-day goal, and that's really great. However, we want to break that down into quarterly goals, and then monthly goals, and then even smaller goals. What can I do this week, or what can I do today to help me to achieve that goal? And then the final element is going to be actually taking the action. You know, taking action is obviously a key component in any goal planning. And, you know, for me, there are a couple things that I like to do for taking action. One is I like to hold myself accountable to myself. So what did I say that I was going to do? And have I actually done that? And then for some of my goals, for most of my goals, actually, I like to share them with people who are going to hold me accountable. So for some of my family goals and maybe personal financial goals, I'll share those with my wife and we'll discuss them together. For some of my health and fitness goals, I may share them with some of my friends who I participate in those kind of activities with. We talk about mentors, mentorship. You know, I have some mentors and I have some people who are in a networking group with me, so education group, and I share those goals with those people who it's relevant to, and really to help hold me accountable, so that and we do that for each other, right? You know, hey, you know, you said you were going to take these steps towards this goal. How are you making out with that? Are you taking those steps? Are you struggling? Is there something we can help each other out with? So really that action piece falls down to not only actually taking the action, but I think when you share those actions and those activities with others, you'll find that keeping each other accountable will really help you to grow. So that being said, I'd really like to get into the different facets of goal planning and what those categories are. I've done a bit of research on this, and I know, you know, Tony Robbins sort of has his own list that he utilizes, and Dave Ramsey has a list that he utilizes for your goal categories. And I condensed some of those together and want to talk a little bit about kind of how I look at each of those categories, and hopefully it's helpful for you when you're thinking about your goal planning. You know, I think oftentimes when we set our goals for a year, and let's go through them. Might as well jump right into it. So the first is contribution and spirituality. I've sort of merged these two together. So, you know, in spirituality, you know, for me, I talk a little bit about spiritual development, maybe time contribution. How am I contributing to others? You know, I think I've become more focused on my activity. Am I becoming a consumer or am I becoming a contributor? And I think we could think of that in many different aspects of life. So, you know, social media is a great example, right? Are you a contributor? Are you doing something that's contributing to others, or are you just consuming? And when we talk about contribution and giving to others, talk about potentially, you know, in spirituality, for me, there's a lot of meditation. I focus a bit on meditation and really getting my mind right, improving mental health and improving my own mental state on a regular basis. I try to do that every day and take some time to do that. And, you know, one of my goals moving into this next year is to actually increase the amount of time. So sometimes I'm doing like a 5 to 10 minute meditation. And if I can increase that to 15 to 20 minutes every day, I think that's going to make a nice difference for me. And then also contribution as far as maybe charitable giving, giving of your time, giving of your money, giving of your skill set. You know, I think oftentimes on journeys like these, I hear people, and I've fallen into this myself. You say, you know, if I had more, I would give more. Or once I get to this certain point, then I'm going to start giving to charity more. Or I'm going to start, you know, helping other people more. And the reality is that, you know, you always have something that you can give. And I've learned that the more that I contribute to others, even if it's maybe it's a financial donation, or if it's my skill set, my time, I feel like the more I receive in return. And so you always have something that you can give. So I think contribution and spirituality is a really great way to start your goal setting. How can you expand upon those in the new year, and then make a difference in the lives of others? The second category I'd like to talk about is the financial category, or finances. So look at this from a perspective of your personal finances. Maybe you have some goals around income that you'd like to increase. Maybe you have some debts that you want to get rid of, expenses that you'd like to maybe decrease, some investment opportunities. Maybe you are not contributing to what you consider to be your retirement or your future fund. How would you like to create more stability of your finances and those sort of things? I love the saying, what you track grows. And I can honestly say that from my perspective, the more time that I focus on, an understanding of what's happening in my personal finances, also along with my business and, taking a look at the finances, the more I am honed in on that. So maybe it means, maybe a good goal is to once a month, just sit down with your finances and see where everything is. Is it heading in the direction that you want it to be? So I think this is a great category to spend some time on. It's one that I always spend time on and I always try to improve every year. So the other thing is that when we talk about finances and financial goals, I think it's really important to keep in mind that it's not just about a number. I think sometimes we sort of lock ourselves into saying things like, okay, this year I want to make X amount of dollars. We'll throw out a random number, $100,000. I want to make $100,000 this year. But why do you want to make $100,000? Is it because it's a milestone, or is it because that's going to give you the right amount of income that you need to reach your goals? Because maybe you don't need to increase your income. Maybe you have some expenses that you can decrease. So I wouldn't focus quite as much on it being a specific number as much as a specific situation that you'd prefer. Category number 3, career, your business. So, are you in the career that you want to be in? Are you in the position that you want to be in? Are you happy with what it is? Have you set a goal to maybe change that this year? Or have you set a goal to improve upon it this year? I think one of the things that I've noticed societally as I talk to friends and mentors and even other people that I network with is that, there's never been a better time to really focus on doing what you love and doing what you want to do. One of the things that came to light during the whole pandemic in the last 2.5 years has been our ability to really be happy with what you're doing. And in many cases, you're able to do it from wherever you want. So are you happy with your career? Are you giving it all that you can give? And where do you see yourself with your career or your business? So, I had a conversation with someone earlier this year, and I said, do you see yourself in this position 1 year from now? Do you see yourself doing this 5 years from now? And if the answer is, I'm not happy enough to want to be there 1 year from now, or I'm not happy enough to be there 5 years from now, maybe this is the time to make a change. And so how do you set those things into play? So does it mean to go to another job? Does it mean that maybe you have a business that is your secondary source of income that you'd like to make your primary source of income? What do those steps take, and how can you head towards reaching those goals? Category number 3, I refer to as intellectual or educational. This is something that I really didn't focus on until I probably was around 36 years old. So probably the last 10 or 11 years, I started focusing on my own personal intellectual and educational goals. And it sort of happened by accident, I'll admit, in that I had a new job. I had to take the train to work every day. I was on the train for like 30 minutes. Didn't have great internet connection, so it wasn't like I could sit on my phone and sort of browse. So I started buying books, and I found some educational books that were geared towards real estate investing, real estate finance, and I really enjoyed them. And one book turned into 2, turned into 3, and every one of those books that I read had some other book recommendations in them. So I started taking those recommendations and continuing down that line. And it wasn't long before I realized that I was reading, between 15 to 20 books a year, improving my education, also improving my reading skill set, improving some of my vocabulary, my financial vocabulary, my financial understanding. And that was something for me that I enjoyed. So find something that you enjoy, find something that's going to make a difference to you, and then find some ways to add education into your life. Maybe it's that you're reading books. Maybe it's that you're listening to audiobooks or listening to podcasts that you find to be educational or add value to you. Another thing that I highly recommend is finding good mentorship. I, over the last couple of years, have made significant financial contribution or significant financial commitment to mentorship and educational programs that have helped me grow tremendously. So, there are a lot of different education programs out there, mentorship programs out there, and find one that suits what you're looking for. And when you're looking, don't just look for the result. And I think that's something that I've learned over the last 2 years in the education program that I decided to become a part of, and is that I didn't focus specifically on the result. I focused more on the content and the culture. Because when you join an education program, you're going to find that, many of these education programs will also include a community portion where, you meet other students and you become involved with and friends with other students and network and even potentially business partners with other students. So vet the program out a little bit to find out if that culture fits your culture. I looked at many different programs, and there were a couple that, although the results that they were offering definitely fell in line with the type of thing that I was looking for, some of the culture just wasn't a fit for me. Not saying it was bad. I'm just saying that it wasn't exactly what I'm looking for. And that's just kind of knowing a little bit about yourself. So look into that, but absolutely, I recommend education, and then networking. Networking is so important because that's going to help you with your education and your growth. Your net worth is your network, or your network is your net worth. So expand upon that. So that falls into the intellectual and educational category. The next category I'd like to focus on a little bit is health and fitness. So what are your health and fitness goals? And do they have an end date? I think sometimes, we look at health and fitness goals and we say, oh, I just want to get to this weight, or I just want to be able to run this distance, or I just want to be able to, reach a specific milestone or reach a specific achievement. And one of the things that I've learned to be so true is that it's really not about the destination, especially when it comes to health and fitness. It really is about the journey. So if you have health goals, if you have exercise goals or fitness goals, or certain things that you want to focus on in this category, learn to love what the process is going to be. If you're looking to maybe eat healthier, learn to love the process of trying different foods. I know some people who love to try foods that are different colors. And so, because a lot of vegetables have different colors in them, or, some of those things. Maybe there's different ethnicities, foods that you haven't really expanded into that range. So try and find some way to enjoy that process. For me, I have some specific health and fitness goals in the next year that relate to events that I would like to participate in and be prepared for, specifically in the triathlon world and in some of the endurance running realm. And I want to make sure that I'm focusing on enjoying the process, enjoying the training that it's going to take, enjoying the those regular runs, those regular bike rides, those regular swims that it takes to actually get to that point. Another thing about health and fitness, and I'm going to say something that I said just a little bit earlier, which is, when we talk about, you often hear people talk about, oh, I want to lose 20 pounds, or I want to lose 50 pounds, or whatever your scenario is. It's not just about the number. So don't be so singularly focused on the number on the scale. Be focused a little bit more on what it's going to do for you and for your life. Oftentimes when I talk about health and fitness, I go directly to eating right and exercise, and what those things have done for me. But maybe it's about your health numbers. Maybe you have higher cholesterol, and maybe making some changes will help you with your cholesterol. Or maybe you have some diabetic concerns that you can change based on your health and fitness. So what do those goals look like? And again, we're going to break them down into quarterly, monthly, and maybe even daily. So, I'm an Apple Watch wearer. So are you going to close your rings every day? Are you going to close your rings 5 times a week? Are you going to close your rings 3 times a week? What do those goals look like? The next category I'm going to refer to as social. And social really is the you time category. So what do your goals look like when you think about your life and you think about the time that you're not working, the time that's you time, right? What does that look like for you? Do you have some travel goals that you'd like to make happen in this year? Write them down. You have some vacation goals that you'd like to make happen in this year. This is where you're looking at what are the things that you enjoy doing. Do you maybe have a hobby that you would like to expand upon? Or do you have certain entertainment goals? Maybe you like to go to specific sporting events, or you'd like to get to theater shows in a certain location or something like that. What does that look like for you? How do you want to spend your time? And when you have that available extra time, what do you want to do with that? And also in this category, I want to talk a little bit about friendships, social circles, social relationships. And so, really make a conscious decision. Who are the people that you want to be around? When you have the opportunity to spend time with people in a social atmosphere, are you putting yourself in the type of social atmospheres that you enjoy being in, that expand upon your goals, expand upon your values? Or are you in a type of situation that are that are maybe not helping that out? Or maybe they're the type of situations where you're like, if I could just stop being in this circle, I can move in this direction. Is it something that's holding you back? I'm not anti a party or getting together with friends from time to time, but if that's becoming something that is, a bit of a negative to you, then maybe a nice goal for 2023 is to start expanding upon that and looking at other social circles. But, most importantly, it's about putting yourself in the type of environments that you want to be in, that you feel contribute to what you want to do. And then the last category I just want to talk about is, and this one's very near and dear to my heart, which is family. Spend some time. And this is one that I really, really want to spend. Personally, I'm going to spend some time focusing on gaining more clarity in what family time looks like. Making appointments to make sure that family time happens. What does your family dynamic look like? Maybe you're constantly running and constantly going, and the family doesn't get time to just sort of sit down and enjoy a meal together, or just it doesn't get time to spend together. Maybe you want to change that dynamic a little bit more. Or maybe there are situations where there's family members you haven't really spoken to much lately, and maybe you want to kind of get back together. What do those goals look like? Again, as we continue to grow every year, we want to grow and grow and grow. What areas can we improve upon? Another really big portion of that for me is not only what do I want the family dynamic to look like, but how can I support, I have a wife and a daughter, how can I support their goals? So what can I do to help enhance what their goals are for the year and be a part of those goals? If they have specific goals that I can be involved in, where I can make a difference and I can contribute to that, it's going to make the family family dynamic improve also. So I wanted to spend just a little bit of time today talking about goal planning in 2023. This is what it looks like for me. This is what I'm working on and I'm focusing on. I'm actually recording this in the week between Christmas and New Year's. So for me, it's something that I'm really spending a lot of time on. I'm thinking about it and I'm writing down some notes and really planning it out for the next year. And I wanted to share with you what that would look like. I think oftentimes goal planning helps us to also get outside of our comfort zone, helps us to grow. I can tell you that when I look back on 2022, I could see some places where I personally have grown so much. I've grown so much in my job. I've grown so much in my family environment. This podcast has been a huge opportunity for me to grow. Some of the physical and health things that I've done have allowed me to grow. And I'm really looking forward to doing more of that in 2023. Quite frankly, this podcast that I just recorded right here just now is actually a comfort zone thing for me. I've not done a solo cast to this point where it's just me just speaking without a guest. And this was outside of my comfort zone. And I made a commitment to myself that I would do this before the end of the year. So I'm recording this on December 28th. And there it is. I'm outside of my comfort zone. I hope this provided value for you. I hope this helped with a little bit of clarity if you're in the process of trying to set your goals for 2023. And I also hope you have a safe, happy, and healthy and prosperous 2023. And thanks so much for checking into the Healthy Investor Podcast. I'm Bob Mastriani, and make it a great day. Thanks so much for joining me on the Healthy Investor Podcast. Check out the show notes for more information about connecting with our guest. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please head on over to iTunes and leave a positive rating and review. It would mean the world to me. I'm grateful for your support, and I wish you an abundance of success on your journey to healthy investments and a healthy life.